Okay, Chapter 1 of Ancient Masonry explores the occult principles underlying Freemasonry symbolism and rituals, tracing their ancient origins across civilizations like China, Egypt, and Peru. These symbols reflect a divine symbolic language holding mystic truths and influencing structures like the pyramids and the Tower of Babel. This emphasizes the enduring golden thread of Masonic symbolism throughout history, shaping human intellectual and spiritual development. It underscores the importance of studying nature to validate all esoteric teachings, distinguishing Freemasonry's encouragement of free inquiry from restrictive dogmas, and highlights the challenges faced by Masons in preserving and sharing this ancient wisdom. Chapter 2 of Ancient Masonry, it links the entered apprentice degree to the 7 planets, symbolizing human constitution. Ancient Masons map these celestial influences, creating a symbolic zodiacal language. Each planet, Sun, Moon, Saturn, Jupiter, Venus, Mars, and Mercury, corresponds to lodge officers, guiding the soul's initiation through cosmic and terrestrial connections. So just to reiterate that, each lodge has approximately 7 officers that are constant, and they correspond to a separate planet. Chapter 3 explores the entered apprentice degree, focusing on the common gavel as a symbol of the universal creative principle and the law of sex, governing all universal actions. It emphasizes cultivating willpower through energy management, contrasting ancient Masonic teachings with modern Oriental practices, and introduces the 12-inch gauge and the 24-inch rule, representing zodiacal influences and time measurements for life's events. Chapter 4 explores numbers and the opening of the lodge. The Tyler, who stands at the door, representing objective consciousness, guards the mind against unworthy thoughts, shaping character and destiny. The lodge, symbolizing man's constitution, opens with rituals reflecting cosmic harmony. Officers' duties align with cosmic principles, and the Arabic numerals symbolize life's processes, which numbers 1 to 10, expressing universal truths and human potential. Chapter 5 details the initiation of a member. It symbolizes the soul's voluntary descent into matter. It emphasizes wisdom and love for spiritual growth. Nutrition on the inner plane involves breathing spiritual substance through lofty emotions, enhancing the astral and spiritual bodies. The ritual underscores personal responsibility, sacred marriage, and Jachin and Boaz as cosmic pillars. Chapter 6 explores the fellowcraft degree, symbolizing man's astral plane, his experience with a 5-fold constitution. Entering the astral plane requires high vibration etheric energy, enables conscious travel through the etheric astral belt, bypassing all lower entities. Regeneration, tools, and jewels guide spiritual progress, emphasizing balanced, harmonious union. Chapter 7 explores Masonic emblems as universal symbols. It reflects the soul's journey and cosmic correspondences. The lodge room mirrors the universe, with pillars symbolizing wisdom, strength, and beauty. The astral plane is accessed via high vibratory thoughts, navigating past and future impressions, guided by the trestle board and starry emblems. Trestle board and starry emblems are all part of a lodge. The basic consciousness of traveling through the astral belt, that's an important part for everybody to remember. When you get to those parts in the book, that's going to be very important. Chapter 8 details the Master Mason degree, symbolizing the spiritual plane within King Solomon's temple's sanctum sanctorum. It represents the ego, divine soul, and spiritual body, The ritual emphasizes preparation for spiritual existence, using creative energy to achieve regeneration and conscious immortality through soul union. And although it's not particularly explained, but if you read those particular chapters, you'll find that the passwords are actually given to you. Passwords that are secret to every Masonic lodge. You will get them. Chapter 9. This was a large chapter. It was a very important one. I could not condense it down into less than 500 words. So bear with me. Chapter 9 explores the Marked Master Mason degree, the fourth degree of ancient Masonry, symbolizing the soul's maturity and the realization of powers conferred by the first three degrees. Corresponding to the fourth major arcanum of the Tarot and the sign Scorpio, it emphasizes the fruition of the soul's journey through the mastery of physical, astral, and spiritual planes. The keystone of psychic development lies in proper electrification. Remember that. It utilizes high-frequency electromagnetic radiations of the nervous system. It is ruled by Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto. Uranus, prominent in the birth chart, gives faculty in using the inspirational system of mental activity. Neptune, prominent in the birth chart, gives facility in using feeling ESP. And Pluto, prominent in the birth chart, gives facility in employing the inner plane system of mental activity. Through these upper octave faculties, man can acquire information and power to direct his own life and destiny, which can be acquired in no other way. These upper octave planets enable inspirational system activity. Feeling ESP and inner plane system activity, respectively, facilitating extrasensory perception and inner plane work, critical for controlling thoughts, emotions, and destiny. The keystone, symbolized by the union of man and woman, is often rejected by overseers, that's occultists and mystics, but it is essential for completing the spiritual temple. It is rediscovered through proper electrification, particularly through the constructive use of Scorpio's energies, enabling the soul to receive the wages of immortality. This degree also integrates natal astrology, where progressed aspects map real, tangible forces influencing life, as validated by the special theory of relativity's time-velocity transformation. If you're not familiar with that, that is basically Einstein's theory. Chapter 10 explores the Royal Arch degree, symbolizing the physically perfect man or adept, mastering 7 senses and consciousness states. The first steps toward adeptship involves recognizing the triune nature of natal astrology, birth chart progressions, cycles, enabling the candidate to uncover the omnific word through the spiritual purification. Chapter 11 delves into 6 degrees of the cross, from heroine of Jericho to the ineffable degrees, each rooted in the 13th major arcanum of the Tarot, corresponding to Aries, symbolizing the soul's transition through death from one cycle to another. These degrees, marked by military symbolism and the cross, which is often a sword, reflect the sun's resurrection from Libra's autumnal cross to Aries' vernal cross. On the inner plane, time is relative, unbound by physical clocks as demonstrated by the Zenith Foundation in 1937-38 findings on telepathy and precognition, where consciousness navigates world lines to perceive past and future events in the now. Distance ceases to be physical, replaced by vibratory differences, allowing entities to be as close or far apart based on their vibratory rates. Regardless of physical location, gravitation transforms into an affinity-based attraction, drawing entities to inner plane levels, matching their dominant vibratory rates. With effort needed to shift between higher or lower levels required. These characteristics, powered by thought, shape the rituals, emphasizing spiritual triumph over material constraints through purification, union, and adherence to universal laws, all culminating in the adept's resurrection into a new cycle of existence. Keep in mind the little important sentence I put in there. Gravitation transforms into an affinity-based attraction, draws interplane entities to interplane levels, matching their dominant vibratory rates. That's really quite important. I'll explain if anybody would like it, but let's go on and we'll get back to that. Chapter 12 examines the ineffable degrees from secret master to degree of perfection, symbolizing the soul's evolution through time, from mineral to human to angelhood, marked by the sun's journey across the vernal cross. The naked heart emblem reveals conscious on the inner plane, where time allows precognition by moving along world lines. Distance is measured by vibratory differences, and gravitation shifts to affinity-based attraction to similar vibratory levels. Control on the inner plane depends on maintaining a higher astral potential, ensuring energy flows from the individual to the contacted entity, preventing external influences. Degrees, like the secret master and perfect master, emphasize regeneration. Like others, like intendant of the building, highlight reunion and mastery over elemental forces, culminating in the degree of perfection, where the adept achieves conscious translation to spiritual realms without death. Chapter 13 examines historical degrees, linking Scottish and York Rite Masonry to Egyptian mysteries through the Knights Templars and Druids, preserving ancient initiatory rites. It highlights 3 methods for acquiring interplane information. Mediumship, where external intelligence control the medium. This is discouraged due to inherent dangers. Feeling ESP, using hypersensitive nervous systems to feel astral vibrations radiated by contacted entities. And intellectual ESP, a safer method where the unconscious mind intellectually appraises interplane phenomena using high-frequency energies radiated by the individual and avoiding external control. The degrees in this chapter, like the Prince of Jerusalem and Knight of the Sun, emphasize cycles, love, and spiritual ascension. That concludes the 13 chapters, and I'd like to go into some explanations of some of them, but if they have any questions in the meantime, go ahead, bring them out. I see none, no raised hands. Okay, I'm going to introduce you to Brian here tonight. Brian and I are both from the Order of the Sphinx. We are both seers in the Order of the Sphinx, and we are your moderators tonight.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can
Okay.
hear.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I just had to adjust it. You didn't hear me before. Okay, as soon as you're finished, I have something to ask.
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Okay, number one, I like the way you summarized each of the books or each of the chapters in the ancient masonry, because when we went through it in 1980, this is what we had. We had a folder with each chapter, and each chapter was in 8.5 by 11 copies of pieces of paper. So one of the things I want to ask is, does this come in books now? Or is
Ancient Masonry?
Uh-huh.
Yes, it is a book.
They didn't have it in a book when we were
Well, we got it the cheap way. We got the manuscripts printed on what do you call that old
mimeograph?
mimeographs.
Oh my
Yes.
God, I got to protect it. That stuff fades.
Yes, but yeah, the books are available and they're on light.org if you want to get the book.
I think I'm going to do,
I
and I have one
I
more,
have a
just one more. Can we get a copy of how you've just summarized everything? Is that on the website or what?
Uh, Brian, explain how they can listen to this on YouTube.
I've been trying to,
Yeah, it'll be recorded, but if you want the actual printout of what Doc read, Doc, I don't know if you could send that to me and or we can just send it to Audrey if she wants it. We have her email address somewhere, I'm sure.
I've got Audrey living only 2 miles away from me.
I know.
Okay.
I'll take care of it.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, I will send you a copy of this.
Because I really, it's been a long time since we did this, 1980. So I
Okay.
like the way you summarized them. Thank you. Okay, Emily, your turn.
well, I
Emily,
had
go ahead.
I had a related question. It's interesting we're talking about ancient masonry because my great grandfather was a astrologer. His pen name was Dali. He um he had a very extensive occult philosophy library, and in there, I don't have the books here. They're in my cousin's apartment in New York, but I have pictures of it that I'm looking at. I'm happy to share screens if you're interested. But anyway, one of the 4 books by C.C. Zane that are in that collection from the 1930s and 40s was Ancient Masonry Introduction, and it was a book, and it's not very thick. So that was interesting. You said it was a thick book. I need to get the version from light.org. I do have a couple of your books. I've read the Sacred Tarot, but I'm interested to know the difference. I don't have a photo of the table of contents of this book, but it's really a beautiful book with a blue cover and the emblem of Brotherhood of Light. And it also says to Dali compliments of Doris Chase Doan, if you happen to know who that is.
Yes, you have a very rare book there.
Yes,
That's
I'm
extremely
aware.
rare.
I also
Doris,
the other ones. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, does it look like this book here?
Wait, you're frozen. No, wait, do you want me to share screens? I literally can show you if I'm able to do that. I think I am. So this is, hold on, let me go back. The cover of these 3 books looks like this. They all look the same.
Oh, you've got the black books.
Those are black. Yeah.
Yours are very, very
Oh, they're
rare.
not navy blue. Yeah,
No,
well,
and that book right there is very rare.
It's navy blue. Oh my goodness.
No,
and
that's
then,
black.
so this one is 1938. I thought it was, I think it's navy blue, but yeah, I'll call it the black books now that you said that. We also have Reincarnation question mark by C.C. Zane with an orange cover. I have a picture of that somewhere
Yes,
here
that
too.
was by Ken Stone.
But this is what it looks like, and it's not very thick. And then we also have Origin of Earth from 1949, and Foundations of Religion.
Okay.
I wish my cousin was here to see this. Anyway, I was just curious. It's just so interesting the history of how all this came about, because if Audrey is saying that it was not a book when she read it, and then it became a book again, I'm just really curious of the evolution of this. Like, why and what is the difference between this book and the one you're talking about? Because it doesn't seem very thick.
Well, the differences was that the original books printed before 1932 were black bound leather books with gold insignias on them.
Yeah.
The black and gold represented the sun and Pluto conjunct.
Okay.
The color black is to Pluto and the gold to the sun.
Neil, it
then-
looks like the lessons.
What was that?
Remember Zane put out the lessons individually.
But the book that she has those are books. Those are the black books that Zane put out. But the one Audrey has is the lessons that Lyndon printed.
Is it different?
Yeah, there are several different editions of those books over the years.
Like,
Yeah,
was
but
the text changed, or?
No, the text was not changed, but the text was added to. Well, I take that back. He did change them when necessary, and he added to it when necessary in newer editions. But after his death, the text was never revised after that.
Leah, is yours just one book or several books on ancient masonry?
It's one book.
It's one book, okay.
Yeah, but individual lessons that he issued were probably 13 different little chapters.
Thank you. Very interesting to me.
Emily, I'm very, very envious of you that you have those books.
I mean, I am very aware that this is incredibly special. So we're trying. If you, I mean, I don't want to bore everybody, but if you're have any resources for me and my cousin to preserve or do anything with these books, or if you want to talk to us about it, we're just like really. We've been trying to find for years just information about anything about. There's a lot more books, but there's 4 by C.C. Zane. I'm trying to find the picture of the reincarnation question mark. One time I wrote an email to you guys about that one because that's not even, I don't even see that available on your website.
Now that
to
one's
be
very
able to
rare
read
too.
it. Here, wait. If I hope I'm not boring you guys. Hold on. Go back to this.
Neil, I'm
Hold on.
surprised you didn't ask what's your price.
I was getting to that.
not for sale at, well, I mean, how much is it worth? We already that, but
Okay.
but it's very precious to us. So
Well,
I
yeah,
think we
anyway,
have that at the office, don't we, Neil?
We do, yes. It's,
Yeah.
let's see here.
Is
Okay,
there-
Emily, I'm going to show you the book. Looks like my video is very slow.
yeah, it is.
I don't know
We
how to
can hear
change
you.
that.
Your mouth is not moving, but yet sound is coming out sometimes, Neil.
Okay. All right. This is one of the newer editions of Zane's book. This was published after 1932.
Okay.
And this is Ancient Masonry.
See, that looks just
Yeah.
like the one I have.
Neil, is that everything in that one book you're holding in your hand?
It is everything in this one book.
Okay, I couldn't tell how thick it was, but you said it was pretty
Yeah,
thick.
can you
Well,
show us
How many
how
pages?
thick it is? Ah,
Yeah, that's thicker than the tarot book is.
It's a little bit thicker than the tarot book.
Yeah, it looks like it.
But yeah, you have some very rare books, and I will tell you that if you had the whole set, it'd be worth well over $1,000.
yes.
And like they say on Antiques Roadshow, for insurance purposes, you should insure this for blank blank.
Well, thank you so much. Yeah,
You have Brotherhood of Light in your blood. Your grandfather had these books. I'm so impressed.
it's pretty wild. The whole story of how these books came into my life is insane. And reading the Sacred Tarot was like a life changer for me. And I only knew about Brotherhood of Light because I visited my cousin's apartment and saw those 3 books. And I said, "What's the Brotherhood of Light?" And I Googled it, and here I am now, a couple of years later. But he was the editor of the Astrology Guide magazine for many, many years. And I guess he knew Manly P. Hall. He may have met C.C. Zane. I don't know. He was a very interesting person. So, but anyway, I don't want to bore everybody. That's not, I feel like we're going off topic, but I'm really,
We don't
This
get
is
history.
open discussion. Not a problem.
but
You do
I
know
find
you do know who Doris Chase Stone is, don't you?
no. Okay. So yes, let me take notes on this. Who is this?
All right, Doris Chase Stone is one of the most famous astrologers known. And
Okay.
she was a member of the Brotherhood of Light. For many years, she was the secretary. And she pretty well took over with her husband after Zane died.
Oh,
Doris
so how
Stone,
would my, oh, Go on.
Doorstone has many books out.
Okay. I should read some of hers. How would my great grandfather have received a personal book from her? Like, what would that mean of their
He would have to
relationship?
have known her.
I wonder if he was a member.
Where did
Is there
he,
any way to find that out?
Possibly.
Emily, where did
Okay.
your grandfather live?
In New York.
Okay. I'm not
Yeah.
sure where Doris Chase Stone lived. I've got her
Well, Doris was also president of the American Federation of Astrologers.
Yes.
in Arizona, I think.
So Neil, the lessons were originally done like in small sections sent out, right? And
Right.
then they were later compiled into books.
Yes.
And then I guess during a period where Audrey was in it for expenses, they did them in lessons again.
Yeah.
Is that how
Lyndon
it
had
worked?
him. He had them rebound into 8.5 by 11 lessons. It was an easier way because the books themselves were being depleted and they didn't want to reprint them because it was too expensive. Emily, you said you had a question on reincarnation from that orange book.
I haven't
what was
read
your
it yet.
question? But you had a
Oh,
question.
I don't know if I had a question about reincarnation. I was just showing you that that was the other book we had. Oh, the question about the book, not about reincarnation per se,
Oh,
is
okay.
how do I obtain, like, because I'm not in New York, I don't want to remove the books from this collection we have there that's like on a nice shelf, trying to keep it all preserved. If I wanted to read reincarnation question mark, the title of that book, is there any way to read that other than
Well,
actually reading that book?
Ken Stone's book is out of print, and that's also very rare. You can read everything that he put in there throughout all the books. That book that he put out was a compilation of all of Zane's writings on reincarnation. So if you get through all
Okay.
21 books, you will get through every part of the reincarnation.
Okay, that's good to know. Thank you.
Have you started any of the books?
I have read the Sacred Tarot, but no, I have so many books on my list. I haven't made it to. I do have Mental Alchemy. I'm probably going out of order. I probably need to start with lesson 1, but I just got excited and wanted to read Mental Alchemy, so I have that on my shelf. But no, I mean it. Sorry, I haven't read anything beyond the Sacred Tarot, but that one was very important to me. I've been recommending it to everybody. So
Sounds
yeah,
good.
but I'll be back in this meeting after I've studied a little bit more.
There is
I don't know, but
in the second book, Astrological Signatures, there is a chapter 7 that says facts and fancies about reincarnation, which is a good sort of synopsis of a lot of different things. It's in book 2, chapter 7. If you just wanted to do a quick look
okay.
at it without going through all 21 of them.
Okay.
But a lot of people start with the Sacred Tarot, especially if you're interested in magic, because that has a lot of good insight in there about that and correspondences and stuff of that nature.
Emily, do you have all the books?
No, just
Okay.
those 4 I showed you. No.
After tonight, you probably might want to, just out of curiosity.
Oh, you mean oh no, I don't have all the lesson books either. Right. Yeah, I my goal is to get all of them and to someday maybe come to a conference as well.
And the
That would
first,
be awesome.
Hey, Doc, you
Yeah.
did say you were going to go into some details about some of that information that you covered.
Yes,
You want to do that
I
now?
was.
Yeah, the
Uh,
gravitational
We're gonna start covering some of
attraction.
that. Gravitational attraction on the astral level basically does not exist in the physical, but it's a form of energy that basically says like attracts like. So what does that mean? Well, if you're doing any kind of astral travel while in the physical, unless your spiritual awareness is at a high level, you're not going to get to that level that you're aiming for. Basically, if you're just come from a fight and or a sports event, and you're all riled up in a Mars type of situation, expending energy and thinking about your fight or a sports event or the football, you're going to have a vibratory rate at that moment of a Mars type of vibration. If you were to project into the astral plane at that point, you go to an astral level that is all Mars. Now, Mars isn't one of your best places to be. And a lot of times the Mars level has these strange little creatures there. We'll call them elementals for lack of a better reason, but all kinds of creatures exist on the astral plane that unless you raise your level, you will actually gravitate toward the level that you're at the time. That's why Zane says at all times, keeping to a high spiritual level is necessary, because that's the level you're going to go to should anything happen to you afterwards. It is also the level that you're going to gravitate to if you're going to do any kind of ESP work. Now, getting into ESP work basically takes some electrification. Now, that's breathing. There's a certain type of breathing rhythmic ideal that charges the interplane batteries better than anything else. Now, every occult organization has a breathing exercise, and it's all basically beneficial to that certain organization. Zane has his beneficial one, and he says his is the best one because it energizes interplane batteries, which very few others are even aware exist. And his manuscript on electrification, which you have to get by passing tests, will tell you exactly how to do that breathing. However, for those who aren't at that point, I have always advised a breathing exercise, a very simple one, to put you into a vibratory rate where you can gravitate to a plane on the astral level for any type of ESP work that you want to do. This electrification, which is simple and is not Zane's, but similar, basically means that you're going to breathe in deeply, hold your breath, breathe out, and hold your breath. Now there's a count there. You breathe in deeply, and you breathe all the way down into your lower abdomen. You can try to feel your lower abdomen breathe in that air, and you hold it for the count of 4. Then you let it out for the count of 4. Hold it for the count of 4. Breathe in for the count of 4. And you keep that rhythm up for as long as it takes for your body to basically settle down and for your mind to become at ease. Now, with that said, that's your basic electrification. Now, Ancient Masonry gets into your first real ESP endeavors. I touched on those briefly in the summaries, and I want to go through them in a little bit more detail. And I'm going to read these. I summarized them from the chapters. They're not exactly Zane's, they're mine, but I think they pretty much state what he has in mind. Ancient Masonry presents not merely a philosophy of life based upon probable information, but also instructions relative to the general principles applying which each individual can make the most rapid spiritual progress and develop his latent occult powers. More specific instructions in such training should be reserved for those who prove by tests that they have sufficient comprehension of occult matters, that they will not be likely to misinterpret or misapply the information presented to them. These will find such detailed information presented in the systematic graduate course embraced in the not sold Brotherhood of Light manuscripts. Now, with that, I want to say the Brotherhood of Light manuscripts are very detailed in ESP, very detailed in magic. This book basically gets you started on it. The manuscripts will get you through all of them. As a reference repeatedly has been made to these ancient masonry lessons to extrasensory perception, it should be clearly understood by anyone contemplating psychic work of any kind that there are three distinct methods of acquiring information from the inner plane, and just what takes place in each. The three methods are mediumship, feeling ESP, and intellectual ESP. I'm going to explain each one. Mediumship is that which distinguishes mediumship as the partial or complete control of the medium by some intelligence other than his own or her own. Basically meaning that, like a person in a seance, there's a medium who is letting another entity on the inner plane control them. This is mediumship. Mankind owns a deep debt of gratitude to spiritualistic mediums. Zane is the last one to criticize them. Many in the ranks of spiritualism have sacrificed tremendously that the race might advance. Many mediums have been martyrs in the cause of demonstrating human survival beyond the grave. But in spite of this debt of gratitude, the very real dangers to those who develop such mediumship cause us to discourage all students from attempting to become mediums. There is danger there. The reasons set forth in detail in the Brotherhood of Light lesson, Laws of Occultism, that's book 1. It details the dangers that would be assessed by going into mediumship. The Church of Light has an unusual opportunity to observe the effects of the various types of development and psychic practice among a great many individuals, but served more and more to confirm that the attitude then taken by mediumship was indeed destructive. Okay, the Church of Light basically does not advocate mediumship. The active always controls the passive. The astral is an active medium. The physical is a passive medium. The astral will always control the passive. Whatever happens in the astral first will then later happen in the physical. So entities on the astral also are active controls. And you are passive if you become a medium and you let them control you. And if they do control you to an extent, they can take over. Now, when I say take over, no, they don't necessarily possess you, but yes, they do. You're, in a sense, becoming more like a schizophrenic type person. You go in and out of different types of personalities or feelings or behaviors, some that you can't account for yourself. This is what actually happens under mediumship when it goes out of control. Any questions on mediumship? None. Let's go into the next method here.
I'm sorry, Doc.
Go ahead, Kate.
Mediumship and I can't think of what it is, but there's a lot of videos going around of a man who lets this entity named
Channeling.
Bashar channeling. That's the one. Yes. Is there a difference there, or is that pretty much the same?
Same thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Channeling is giving up your own power to someone else to direct it. Yeah, channeling is now becoming the in thing among many occult groups. It's a dangerous thing. It's reactivated from years past when mediumship kind of fell out of favor. And it's now becoming a favorite again. But it's dangerous. I do not recommend it. Now, with that said, go ahead, Emily.
A lot of modern mediums like spiritualism and spiritualists, they don't seem to, when they're doing readings, like I've been to demonstrations like in an audience, they're not actually channeling or being taken over, but they're like passing on a message in their own words, maintaining their own personality. Is that like how does that fit into
Well,
what you were saying?
you're on a borderline at that point. When they say they're putting things into their own words, Are they really channeling from an inner plane entity, or are they clairvoyantly sensing information and putting it into words?
Yeah.
And I'm
Probably
going to
the
go
second
into
one.
that.
Oh,
Probably the
okay.
second one, possibly. I'm going to go into that one. The next one is feeling ESP. Today we call it psychometry. It's a method of gaining information basically by holding on to an object. Sometimes it can be done by being in close proximity as well. So I'll explain you the Brotherhood of Light lesson about feeling ESP. At the appropriate place and time, the Not Sold manuscripts will go into detail about these, but I'm going to give a very general overview of what it is. Okay, the majority of independent psychics who employ feeling ESP make use of the hypersensitivity system of mental activity in which the nervous system or some part of it's tuned in, or some part of it is tuned in on the astral counterpart of the object or the person about which information is wanted. That could possibly be channeling. The nervous system or some part of it becomes a receiving set through which the electrical energies and astral energies closely associated with it pick up radio fashion the astral vibrations radiated by whatever is tuned in on. The individual then feels the condition of that which is thus contacted. The energy causing the feeling is furnished by that which is contacted. The individual who is hypersensitive is able to feel so discriminately at what is received that his unconscious mind can give detailed information about that which is tuned in on, and perhaps about the past and probable future. A quarter of the century of experience with students all over the world who have developed this feeling SP has convinced the Church of Light that this method of psychic development should be approached with some caution. Reason being, as you brought up channeling, sometimes you're on the borderline. Is that you in control, or is that an astral entity in control? Sometimes it's hard to determine, especially to individuals who are very passive in nature to begin with. Easily influenced individuals can be controlled like that. When they think they're giving their own information as though they are in control, they may not be. That's one of those borderline things that requires caution. Okay, I'm going to go into the last one, intellectual ESP. The unconscious mind itself occupying the astral plane has facilities which, when given proper impetus and sufficient energy with which to work, can examine objects and thoughts and communicate with other intelligences. In intellectual ESP, hypersensitivity plays no part. Instead of becoming a receiving set, the electrical energies of the nervous system radiate high-frequency vibrations, which afford the faculties of the unconscious mind the energies with which to perform their work. Feeling or hypersensitivity plays no more part in such examination by the unconscious mind on the inner plane than it does in a similar examination on the physical plane, nor are the emotions more active. The examination is conducted by the unconscious mind, reinforced by the astral energies provided by high-frequency electromagnetic radiations of the nervous system. This examination, which may include past and future, as well as all aspects of the present, about which information is sought, is an intellectual appraisal of the results of which are not communicated to other sections of the nervous system, but much as something is remembered, even though seen but a moment before, is communicated directly to the brain as an intellectual awareness. Basically, what that means is you become aware of the inner plane. And today, this is known basically as clairvoyance, seeing at a distance. Modern parapsychologists will call that remote viewing. It's the new key word for clairvoyance, seeing at a distance. And basically, that's what you're doing with this unconscious type of intellectual ESP. You're assessing what you find on the inner plane. but it comes through to you as a memory. It doesn't always come through immediately. It may come through later when you're basically sleeping, relaxed, or if you are already in a relaxed position, it may come through sooner. This basically is the best way, the most safest way. There is no entity on the inner plane to contact. You're not using your nervous system to feel vibrations and possibly being on that borderline where you are or are not in control. Now, I'll give you a little hint on feeling ESP. Those who seek to control this use a key word, which basically tells the unconscious mind that you are in control at all times, and it is not something that is coming from an interplane entity. That key word is whatever you tell yourself is it. And I'll give you an example. You want to hold a rock in your hand and get that information. You control that by saying a phrase, I want information. That clues your conscious mind that you are going to get information from that rock without any interplane entity giving it to you. You can do the same thing for a person. If you want information about a person, you basically tell yourself, keyword, I want information. And that tells your conscious mind that you are in control. That's just an example. Now, there is a fourth way of getting information. Zane does not give this out in the earlier books. It only comes through in some of the manuscripts. But there is a fourth way, and that's the direct way. Those who can, and sometimes do, make astral projections, which is basically a full conscious leaving of the body into the astral plane. Information can be gained directly in that method, and it comes back not as a memory, but as something you had actually lived and felt. That one is not recommended. That one has its dangers. In fact, it has many dangers. And that's why Zane does not give it out very clearly in the first few lessons, and is usually reserved for one of the manuscripts. But it is a method, and it's one of the best methods for examining information on the inner plane. On the inner plane, those who do astral projection, you'll find that it's not much different than ours, except that you do have to keep a high vibration, because those of astral travel will go to an area of the astral plane that is not conducive to their physical well-being if they aren't of a higher moral, spiritual level. Does that happen often? Yes. As I mentioned before, if you just come from something and you're all hyped up for Mars vibrations, and you decide you want to do an astral projection, you're going to go to the area where all that energy has directed you. Like attracts like. Gravitation will bring you to a like gravitational level of the astral plane. Okay, well, all that said, I've given a clear indication of the fourth book and how it gets into ESP and the planets that basically are the keystones to what might give you an idea of what your best use of your ESP faculties might be. Neptune, Uranus, Pluto are your higher octave planets, and they do generate and correspond to one of these three types of ESP. The moon also is a generator of ESP. It gets more into astral projection than the higher octaves do, but we'll stay with the higher octaves for this time. So that concludes my basic synopsis of the ESP that is in this book. We can open it up now to anything else you want to discuss.
Neil, I have a question about, you're talking about don't do this and don't do that, and there's dangers. I've had, this happens sometimes, and a long time ago something happened, and as soon as somebody said something to me, I knew what the outcome of all that was going to be, and as it turned out, that is what happened. that wound up happening. So I'm not sure where that falls in what you just discussed. I wasn't trying to find out what was going to happen, but when somebody said something that, okay, I'll do this, but I knew what was going to happen later on in that situation, and it wasn't what they were thinking was going to be. But I found out, I just knew. So what is that then?
That's precognition, and that's part of the intellectual ESP.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I wasn't drifting into dangerous waters as you are indicating. I didn't feel like it, but okay,
No,
thank you.
not at all. That was something that was told to you, and it came through to you as something that was something like a memory to you, but you knew what it was.
Neil, I just want to say I love your Egyptian background that you have. I didn't notice that last time. I haven't been here. I'm still recovering from bronchitis, but that is just beautiful. I love it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Have to find out. Is that a backdrop or is that actual pieces of
That is a curtain.
is a curtain?
It's a curtain.
I'd like to
My computer would not let me put a virtual background on unless I had a big curtain of green behind me. And when I looked up how much the material of green costs and how much this curtain costs, the same. I got the curtain.
Okay, so you got it online?
No, it's right behind me.
No, but I mean, did you?
Oh, I bought it online. Yes.
Yes, it's hanging in your house.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's hanging right behind me. It's
I-
covering up the bookcase.
Yes, I like it. Where can I ask you how you got it or what you look for? And I hate to be a Me Too one, but I really like it. I've always been drawn to Egyptian things.
In the next meeting, we'll all show up with the exact same
Yeah,
curtain.
I think that would be one.
They've got different ones.
What site?
Basically, I just look for virtual backgrounds of Egyptian scenes.
Okay, we could probably find virtual background. Okay, thank you.
You know, Neil, I love your analogy with the gravitational force because, you know, when determining weight and in physics and things of that nature, you use the gravity of the closest celestial body to you to determine, you know, what gravity's effect is on you. Because ultimately, that's the planet you have to escape the gravity of. And the good news is most planets, including the moon, have less gravitational force than the Earth. So you can't escape them. Mars has a very low gravitational force. The planet that has the highest gravitational force by far is Jupiter. So the good news is if you can get on the vibe of Jupiter, which is we know is a very positive, helpful vibe, it sort of sticks you there. So if you can get that spiritual devotional love going, and that's why, you know, even in the lessons, it talks about as you're trying to get energy going, that one of the most profound and strongest one is that Jupiterian energy. And it's just interesting that science has proven that as well. Saturn, even though it's a big planet, actually has about the same gravity as Earth. It's a little bit more, but so that's interesting to note. And you know, Pluto has the lowest gravitational force of all the planets, and Neptune has a relatively strong one. So just things to think about. You know, that they correlate to, you know, when you get into certain planetary vibes, so to speak, how easy it is or should be to get out of those and get back to baseline or to wherever you want to be.
And this is Jupiter's night.
Yeah, it is. That's why we picked Thursday, as a matter of fact.
Yes. Exactly. And I also have a purple shirt. Okay, if we're
I have a question, guys.
go ahead.
When you say things happen in the astral first and then the physical, I believe that's what I heard.
That's what you heard.
A lot of times we hear the saying as above, so below, but then I'm always reminded that it's also as below, so above. So in my mind, I was thinking, you know, there are things that happen above that are displayed here, but we can also affect the astral by what we do down here. That was my thinking all along. But this quote makes me think that maybe it is just top down or astral to physical.
Okay, you've hit on something that few magicians realize. Yes, the astral always controls the physical. However, as above, so below, and it goes both ways. The physical can influence the astral. It is both ways. It is much harder to influence the astral from the physical, but it can be done. And that's basically what magic is all about. It's demonstration. It's trying to basically change what is going to be into something that you want it to be. And in order to do that, you've got to affect the astral. You've got to put energy, a lot of energy from the physical into the astral in order to make the physical happen again. Does that make sense?
Okay, yeah, I think we touched on the energy that you need to manifest into the astral. I think we talked about that. So yeah, that does make sense.
Electrification is one way to do it, yes.
Okay.
Well, electrification is just another word for breathing exercises.
Thank you.
That sort of goes to Newton's third law. For every action, there's an equal but opposite reaction.
Mhm.
So yeah. So you gotta, if you want a big result, you gotta generate big energy.
And in that sense, if you're looking for a large result, sometimes magic ritual is done in groups, and you do get a lot more energy, and it will produce a much better result. A lot of times healing, which is a magical ritual, takes place in groups, and the energy of a group can do a lot more than just one person. And yes, healing is a magical energy, and so is prayer.
That's interesting. Just to say that I used to do Reiki circles and I used to look at it as more educational, but maybe it is the energy factor.
Maybe it is.
Hmm.
I watched when Reiki was first coming out and how they were saying this is all different from psychic influence. Well, actually, it wasn't. They were doing the same thing that psychics were doing, only they didn't know it.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not explained in that way. So
No, it was done that way in order to keep it physical and scientific so that it wouldn't be poo-pooed by the general public.
You know, the Eastern traditions and, you know, separating out reincarnation or whatnot and sort of American yoga, but traditional yoga has a lot to say about ways to generate energy and different breathing. I think they advanced that science pretty far, the different types of breath to use in different situations, including the one that Neil was talking about. So there's, you know, there's a lot of good information in that world when it comes to the breathing patterns and electrification and the different types of breaths, even different nostrils and things of that nature to generate different types of energy.
So you're
Kate,
saying, I'm
oh,
sorry,
I'm sorry. Kate, you opened your mouth. You wanted to say something.
Reiki is also falling in this category of healing energy. I didn't know that. I'd never heard that. I mean, I do Reiki, but I'd never heard it put in that category. So that's nice to hear.
Yes, Audrey, if you remember way back when we were doing healing in Bevy's group, that was the same thing. Okay, Kate, you wanted to say something?
I just hear the above and the below so often that I rarely hear anyone talking about as within, so without. And
Yep.
that's just the outcome, the product of this? Is that
As within, so without. That's the astral controlling the physical.
It's just
Basically,
different
everything.
terms.
It's same. Yeah. Go ahead, explain it, Brian.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the inner world versus the outer world. The inner world being as above, the astral world, the outer world being the physical world that we're in, the inner planes versus, you know, that kind of thing. It's the same exact principle, just using different words to describe those different spheres of experience.
one's for flat earthers, the other one's for others.
Yeah. That's a great way to put it.
Well, I've got a question for everybody. I've been doing research and I've come up with all kinds of problems in life. And one of the biggest problems I have now is ghostology. And trying to reconnoiter between what ghostology is and what science says is getting to be difficult. So I'd like to ask everybody, is there such thing as ghosts?
I was just talking about this recently with some friends, because it's hard to tell. I think ghosts is a word that applies to so many different, I guess we could say, entities or spirit. Like, for instance, some ghosts, if you go on a ghost tour of a Civil War battlefield or something, it's just like a shell. It's the astral shell, maybe is a word just used for that. Or it's not the personality or the essence of the person. It's just like their habitual shell-like
It's
qualities. But then there are certainly spirits that could contact you that could, with, if you don't know maybe the right word for it, or you don't know the difference, they do have intelligence and consciousness, and they could contact you and maybe appear like what we would say is a ghost. I just think that word is too general to describe all the different kind of supernatural
there it
experiences
is.
that could seem like a ghost.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
several different ways of describing ghosts and apparitions, poltergeists. Emotional imprints is what you were talking about, the astral shell. The etheric shell or the etheric body. Those are different words to describe different parts of a discarnate entity or discarnate energy. However, ghost basically, as I'm kind of asking about, is do people really see ghosts?
I'm going to say yes.
How do you know?
How do I know? I've seen things, so I guess the only way to know is your own experience, and then you can't prove it to anyone else. So it's not very scientific. But as a teenager, I was an exchange student for a year in South Africa, which is a very kind of occult spiritual place with all kinds of belief systems mixed together. And everyone in Pretoria, where I was, literally everyone just took it as absolutely a fact that ghosts exist. Everyone had seen a ghost. Every school had a ghost. Every house had a ghost. It was just normal. And it really shook me because I came from such an atheistic scientific background in my family. And it was like, it was actually kind of traumatic sometimes. And I never saw one while I was there, but the family, the house that I lived in, they had a ghost, of course, and they said every night at 1 a.m. it walks past the window and you could hear it on the gravel, and I heard it. I can't explain it.
You sure it wasn't
So
just imagination going wild?
I'm not sure. No, there's no way to know.
No, actually, there is no way to know. And
Um,
all the research I've done in science right now says there is no way possible for ghosts to even exist. First of all, because the CERN gravitational reactor in Switzerland would have detected them, if that's possible, because no type of energy can exist without having some type of atomic structure. And the CERN has been able to discern every type of atomic structure that we have in existence. They don't even know whether muons or trachyons actually exist, which theoretical physicists think could travel faster than the speed of light. But there's no science to support that, and it's only theoretical at this time. So what do we do with ghosts when science says it doesn't exist?
we
It's
don't
all
see them.
imagination.
How about feeling something, even if you don't see something? You know, I understand some people when they were alive have such a strong imprint on their environment. it stays there for a little while, even after they die. And that some people want to stay on this plane. And I'm not sure how they can do that traveling back and forth if they want to come back here and reconnect with people, or if they're just wanting to stay here because they weren't ready to leave, or they weren't finished with the mission that they thought they were on here. But sometimes I have felt things in strange ways. Once in a while, I thought I saw a ghost to one of my cats in the hallway.
Yeah, lots of theories on ghosts, but unfortunately, science can actually physically say none of them are true. And they have proof to show that none of them are true.
Well,
Ma-
lack of
Maybe,
evidence isn't proof that that thing doesn't exist. Like
right.
we cannot measure gravity itself. There's no way that we determine gravity. We don't have a sense that picks up gravity. We know gravity and we only compute it from its effects, but we don't really have any way to measure the energy itself. We just know its effects. So if you can do that similar thing to ghost, we can feel their effects, just like we can feel gravity's effects. I think it's, I'm not being argumentative here, Doc, but I think
No,
just
do it.
because
You're on the right line here.
in many cases our instruments just may not be sensitive enough. Yeah, we didn't know atoms existed 150 years ago, but they certainly did exist. We just didn't have the technology advanced enough to be that sensitive.
And
Right.
you got the right point right there. The human body, the human mind is far more sensitive than any instrument that science has ever come up with at this time. Now, based upon Zane's laws of interplane energies, which basically in his theoretical state says anything faster than the speed of light no longer exists. That is basically the inner plane. Well, now if tachyons and muons exist and they travel faster than the speed of light, then they have to exist on another plane, because by science, they can't be here in the physical. So there's an out. Science says it does not exist. There's no way that we can prove it physically. And they have all kinds of reasons that will overpower any reason we can give that would suffice there being a feeling or a sight of a ghost. Now, with that in mind, how do we see ghosts?
Oh, guys, I'll say this. Personally, I've only felt, the hair raising experiences, but you reminded me that my daughter, she had a supernatural experience. She goes to a university, and the claim is that it was built on top of a psychiatric home. And so I was looking at her chart because I even tried to see let me do that at the same time. But I believe she woke up. I can't remember if she woke up or she came back from class, but there were on her side of the room, there were fluorescent green handprints. And then on her roommate's side, there were footprints upside down. No one could explain it. No one had access to their rooms.
How would you think science would explain that?
I don't know that science could explain that. Literally a handprint, like a palm print, and then literal feet upside down on the wall. On top of, this was closer to the ceiling.
You have an idea what science might say? I would tell you
I think they would take it to man and try to say maybe someone physically came in and did something. I think they would just leave it up in the air.
You've got it right. That's exactly what science would say. It's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
Someone did it and you weren't aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's how they have been able to basically explain every type of apparition or intelligence or something that is supernatural. Some way, shape, or form, it was a hoax, or it was your imagination, or it was some part of the body that was not sensing the right kind of physical stimuli.
Yeah.
Well, science can do that, and unless you can prove different, science wins.
Yeah,
In
no,
the in
done.
the in the old days, I don't know, less than 100 years ago, there universities like Duke University had departments, like real university departments dedicated to the science of studying paranormal activity. And then suddenly at some point, I don't know, maybe the 80s or the I don't, couldn't have been the 90s. It must have been 70s or 80s.
1990,
Oh, yeah.
1996.
Oh, what
That's
was the catalyst of them?
1996 was when the CIA had Stargate as a method of spying on the Russians as their
Wow.
use of getting information. And the Congress at that time got wind of it and decided it's all bull. We're getting rid of that money, and there's no more research going into that. At that point, all universities who were doing research stopped. By 1999, Dean Radin, Harold Putoff, let's see, Russell Targ, they were the leading paranormal investigators at the time, and money was cut off from them. So they no longer were doing any research. And the few conventions that they were giving were dying out. By 2001, there was hardly anything left in America that was reviewing paranormal activity. However, with that said, we now have a resurgence of ghost hunting. If you look on the TV, there's a whole lot of ghost hunting going on. And nobody's complaining about that.
They have different funding.
It's a
Different funding, exactly.
It's a fun program, and I'm sure you've all seen that program called Ghosts. These ghosts from different decades and centuries, and the woman who lives in the house can communicate with them. It's a fun program. Whether ghosts can really be seen and exist like that, the program is still fun. And it's fun because of the information that we get from them that they carry from that particular time when they lived and how they're affected, how they see the modern age and everything. So it's kind of interesting in that regard.
An
Um,
alternate view to
one,
why it was stopped is the CIA knew it worked and they didn't want everybody to be interested and learn it because then there are no secrets. So that's a conspiracy, otherwise known as a spoiler alert, to another
Yes,
reason that it became so discredited almost instantly, and anyone who was investigated was made fun of.
that's
Because
right.
if it works, then it opens up people to want to explore it. And it is a skill that needs to be developed, just like shooting a basketball or anything else. So if you had a bunch of people developing that skill and then had that capability, then all the secrets are no longer secrets. But hey, take your pick to which one it was. But
Wait,
that's
so
an alternate view of some people these days, that the CIA purposely discredited it because they didn't
of
want it to
course.
be explored because of the risk it exposed.
You
But
know,
so are you saying that these universities that were somehow the funding to one thing was linked to the funding to the other thing? Are you saying the universities were like training people to then work at the
Oh yeah,
CIA?
for sure, for
mm,
sure, yeah.
uh,
I
Ingo
actually didn't know
Swann,
that.
yeah, Ingo
Oh,
Swann um, got hold of Bevy Jager's program on how to train people for ESP. Bevy Jager was one of the first people, and she was right here in St. Louis, one of the first people to actually take ESP and say, that's all bull. Everybody's got that, and I can train them. And she did. And she trained everybody that wanted to learn. And Ingo Swann, who was part of the CIA Stargate, he was the PhD in charge of it, came to Bevy and learned her methods. And he took her methods to the CIA Stargate and started training his own people there. Russell Targ and Putoff were added to the CIA Stargate program as extra researchers, and they too were training. They were researching more than training, but nevertheless, they were all involved in that. And yes, when the funding got cut off, they stopped. However, they also realized that if enough people can be trained, they can also see what our government is doing too. And
Right.
that was a no-no.
I have one more comment about the ghosts in the dorm. I looked at my daughter's chart on that day, and I can't remember the transiting planet, but it did hit her Neptune in the first house. And I think we're all in agreement that Neptune is ghost spirits.
Well, we'll say Neptune is spiritualism. Yes, that's probably the closest planet to the astral and ghost. Yes. And at that point, if it was transiting any one of her natal or progressed aspects, it would be adding extra energy at that time, making her possibly a little bit more sensitive to the inner plane.
So most likely she was just
Neptune is
experiencing
a moving planet, so it'll be for a long time if it's in a house.
Yeah, this was her natal planet. This was her natal. There was a transiting planet to her natal Neptune. I just don't recall what the planet was. I myself was looking for mental stability at that time. Not necessarily believing it was a ghost. I was like thinking maybe something, is off on that day. But I'm not here to say yes or no. But I believe her that, there was something supernatural happening in there.
I think a little bit of the struggle with Neptune is it's also the planet of fantasy thinking.
Yes.
And that's
Exactly.
why the admonition that Neil gave that is recommended that you develop your own sort of personal abilities to understand these things so that you're interpreting it correctly. I'm not saying anything about what happened to your daughter, just saying in general, the same planet that rules spiritualism rules fantasy thinking. And you
Yeah.
see that
And
with
also
people
drugs.
and drugs as well. Yeah.
Oh,
Her
yes.
roommate saw it too, so I had to work with both of them and think
Yeah.
about both of their mental states. Multiple people saw it. It wasn't just her who saw it.
most likely what she was seeing was just an astral entity, right? Is that what
We don't
is that
know.
what you're getting at,
Yes,
Doc?
something astral related. Like it left a physical imprint.
Neil, could that be etheric and not astral?
It would probably be more etheric.
Okay.
Etheric
Wouldn't
is
that be a
boundary line.
poltergeist?
Oh, poltergeist. What was that, Peg?
I said, wouldn't that be a poltergeist?
Well, that's a possibility. Now, poltergeist is another part of the ghostology. A poltergeist is basically a noisy spirit. They make things happen. It's like psychokinesis is making physical things move or sound, or how do they say? It creates. Basically, we'll just put it as noise because that's what they're mostly known for.
And
Poltergeist activity has been known to be an energy form that comes from young persons who are going through puberty. The hormones at that time are changing. They don't know how to control them, and they spit out this energy, and it's called psychokinesis, and it makes a noisy habit or a nuisance of themselves by producing all kinds of activities and noises throughout with no explanations whatsoever. Now, science will say that's closer to reality because there's a physical connection to that, but they still don't know what it is. They can't measure it. Go ahead. Someone had something to say?
No, I'm just, thinking out loud. The color of the handprint was green. I'm wondering if there's anything related with the green color. And then I started thinking about Cancer and the other side and ancestors and things of that nature. So Cancer and the moon could be spiritual,
Could be
ghostly
green. Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Green paint.
I agree, paint. But no, I don't want to do that to them. I don't.
Did those prints remain very long?
I think they were able to wash them off to get them off of the
Okay. If that or science is going to step in and say, because they're physical, it's a hoax.
Mhm.
There's no way to know at this point without having some real research done before and after the fact. But if
Yeah.
you can wash them off, there's a physical atomic structure there. And
Yeah.
that means it's basically a physical phenomena that has nothing to do with the inner plane at that point.
Yeah, I don't know if it was soap or water or she was just using a cloth. I don't know, but she got it off somehow.
Zane does talk about protoplasm. What's the word he uses for that?
It's ectoplasm or protoplasm, yes.
Yeah, that is a physical manifestation of etheric or astral energy.
Hmm.
Right. Yeah. I think the problem with science is science wants to be able to, be able to create that on demand. And things that are very rare are hard to just create on demand to measure and create an experiment for it. I think that's part of the challenge. As on a lighter note, I did have a master tell me once, what makes you think just because someone's dead, they're smarter?
Oh, that's a good one. Yes.
You don't die and instantly get smarter.
Yeah.
So just because someone's dead and a ghost doesn't mean they're any smarter they were when they were here.
I believe that wholeheartedly.
You know, in the early 1900s, I can't remember the sister's name. They did a lot of work with psychic
Fox
phenomena.
sisters.
Yes, yes, and that's where I first encountered the word ectoplasma or that type of plasma in that, because I think they were trying to contact other entities. I'm not sure what they did and or where you put them on the scale of what they did.
Well, early spiritualism basically was bringing in ghosts from the other side and having them appear through this physical matter called ectoplasm at the time. Now, Zane refers to that as protoplasm, which is something generated on the inner plane and becomes physical, and it comes out of the basic orifices of the person channeling that energy. There's been a lot of investigation into early psychics or mediums who could produce this. And the Fox sisters were supposedly some of those that could, but they later were shown to be a hoax, according to science. There was one medium whose name I do not remember. Go ahead. Oh, okay. One medium whose name I do not remember. He was one of the best mediums ever known. Lived around the time of World War II.
Edward Casey? Edgar
No, it
Casey?
wasn't Casey. Wasn't
okay.
Casey. He was the guy who was credited with giving the password of who's that magician? Houdini. Houdini left a password with his wife, who basically stated if there's anything to the afterlife, he will give it to somebody to tell her what that password is. And this one basic spiritualist channeler, it was a guy, apparently got it during one of his seances, and Houdini's wife did verify that it was the correct password and that Houdini did survive after death. However, science says that since that password was basically possibly given as a hoax or possibly found by other means, physical means, they could not abide that this was a true spiritual situation. I'll think of the guy's name. He was
Arthur
quite famous.
Ford. Arthur Ford?
Arthur Ford. That's him. Yep. Where'd you find him at?
I just Googled it real quick for you.
Yeah, Arthur Ford has never been disproven by science. All of his basic channelings, a lot of it came true for him or for the people he was looking for. But in the end, as Zane says, he was one of those true pioneers who gave up his life for that. And he probably suffered greatly in the meantime or afterwards. And as Zane said, he really does salute those who did that, but he would never recommend it for anybody. Well, I'm going to continue with ghostology down the road a bit. But I just wanted to get everybody's opinions on what a ghost is and if they've seen anything or had any dealings with them. Toe, you've been awful quiet. Do you got something to say?
Got a cool background.
Very
Smart
cool background.
guy.
Chris has been silent.
That looked really cool.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Chris, you want to add anything in?
A ghost.
Okay. How about Michael? You've been sitting back there so calm, not saying a thing.
Yeah, I'm just listening. Um, yeah, I don't know about your ghost business. I mean, I think it something about in the first book, Zane talks about how ridiculous the scientists are.
Hmm.
You know, I mean, even 10 years ago, when I was in an accident with my head, like they wouldn't believe that like an accident can actually give you a concussion. You know, I mean, it was absurd to me, um, just how they didn't understand or didn't believe anybody. You know, you could get a concussion. I mean, there was there's been so many instances in my life where it's just because you can't physically prove something, it doesn't exist. You know, it's all in your head. Um, so to me, it's like scientists that are strict and don't have an open mind, you know, are ridiculous. I mean, they can do what they want, but I don't need to talk to them about anything. I'm not trying to convince them of something. You know, I've seen I've seen ghosts when I was young. I mean, told to me by, you know, verified by my family, and coming up here and there through my life, different times, different things. But I mean, it's so matter of fact for me that I don't even need to talk about it. You know, it's just a fact. You know, I've seen them, and if other people say they've seen them too, I, I, I'm critical for sure because there's so many people that I find can pretend to see something or want to see something, and they'll see it. Especially even in the mediumship world, they just make this shit up. I find,
Yeah.
you know, because but personally, I don't have a mind to pretend that something is what it isn't. Um, I don't know what it is about me, but I'm not very good at making things up. You know, I can't even read fiction. You know, I don't read fiction. I'm trying to a bit more because I know it's crazy, but I don't know. I think I have a lot to say about it, but if for you and your I ghost business, I know that there's been times if there's been an accident, like something abrupt, like a snap, it can almost imprint into maybe not the air, but that actually area of where it's hit has been. And some people, and it's just more like maybe a stamp. And I don't know if it could be um, measured, but, you know, computers are getting so small these days and affordable that maybe soon we'll be able to measure these really micro frequencies. I don't know. Anyways, but yeah, there's that point too when there's been a shock. If sometimes leave it in print there. I'm aware of some ghosts that just seem to stick on this plane, our physical plane, and they're not the evolved ones. You know, it seems like maybe they haven't accepted it's time to move on or something. Um, but there's also the spiritual bit, like if somebody's done what the books are talking about, I think, is that if somebody, you can contact somebody's spirit that's been, or the spirit of who they were when they were here, or something. I don't know. I'm trying to get my head around a bit, but there's some interesting stuff that points in the books there. But as for ghosts, I mean, I don't need to convince anybody, but I've seen them at different times and be able to confirm with people that, yeah, this wasn't, I'm not making it up. There's real reasons for this.
Well, you summed it up very well.
There was an episode of one of those ghost hunter shows, and it had to do with hotels. And there was a specific hotel, and the guy walked around and said, "This is where a boy fell down the stairs and passed." And people say that they hear the boy running through the hallway. This is the kitchen where supposedly one of the chefs lost it and stabbed another cook. And just went through and and what people experience that relates to the story. And then at the end of it, she said, nobody's died here. These are all just stories that they've been saying so often that from what I understood, they were saying that it perpetuated that energy to create, like y'all are saying, illusions, I guess.
Yeah, energy can be created, and they do have imprints that people walk into them, they will pick it up and basically respout exactly what that energy was formed for. Well, with that in mind, Peg just reminded me of something that we talked about a couple, 3, 4 weeks ago. How do you see ghosts? Nobody? I'll tell you how to see ghosts. Well, yeah. Science will tell you that our eyes basically have rods and cones in them. And in the retina of the eye, we have the fovea, which is full of rods and cones. And they are meant to see basically very detailed light. And it reflects all the detail that the light has in it. But out of the side of your eyes, a peripheral vision, there's a lot more cones than there are rods. Now, rods tend to see movement and colors, much more so than the front of the eye will. Yeah, you'll see detail at the front, but you will also see colors and movement at the side. But if you turn your eye to look at it, it's gone because the front really can't see that fine of a detail of colors and movement that the peripheral vision actually sees. That's science. That's actually how the science says the eyes work. So how do you see ghosts? Peripheral vision. Look for your movement and colors. If you look forward and then try to see out to the sides, you can actually pretty much focus on things out of your peripheral vision. And you can possibly very well see ghosts or other things happening that is below the actual level of light that the front of the eye, the retina, sees. That's how you see ghosts.
That's a good point, because when I have thought I've had experience of ghosts, I catch it out of the corner of my eye, and I immediately go to look, and you don't see anything. But you felt it, and you saw something there, but when you look, it's gone.
Yep.
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing. Out of the corner of
Yeah.
my
Yep.
Why are you doing this to us?
eye. Before bed.
How about smelling ghosts, Doc? How about smelling ghost?
Well, yes, it's possible. All the 5 senses are tuned to take in the astral senses as well. It's corresponding astral sense.
Yeah.
Yes. There are people who can smell the odors of ghosts. Now, I cannot say for certain what other people smell, but when I first moved into my house here, and it wasn't just me that smelled it, it was others in the house, this pipe tobacco, certain kind of pipe tobacco at a certain time of day always showed up. And I couldn't understand where it was coming from. Checking the entire house, the furnace, the registers, nothing. But it would only show up at certain times of the day and not every day. Then one day I saw my dog, who was sleeping on the couch, get up, look at the steps going to the 2nd floor. And he was just staring at those steps. And I saw his head move up and down as though he was following something. So I had to get up and look. No, there was nothing there. But as I got to the steps, there was the pipe smell,
Mm.
very strong. Now I can't say that I have a very well developed inner odor smell or ability to smell odors, but I do have a big nose, and I can smell things most people can't smell.
Me too.
I can also taste things most people can't taste.
Me too.
So in that sense, yes, I smelled it. And then my son smelled it. And my son asked me one day while he was on the couch, he asked me, who was that person on the steps? And that's when I knew, yeah, we had something. And research showed by going to the neighbor next door who had been there long before us, that the previous resident, his name was Mr. Rogers,
Yeah.
smoked a pipe, and he died in that house. And basically, he had his time of day. Every day, he'd come down the steps from his nap, and he'd light his pipe, and he'd go outside and smoke with the neighbor. So we had something to back us up on that. So yes, I will say, yeah, you can smell. Those who are tuned to it, you can smell. How about clairaudience? That's seeing or hearing things. People can get ESP information through hearing things. It comes through the inner ear. It almost sounds like somebody whispering right in your ear. I've only had one instance of that. I never knew how that was. Christopher Gibson, who was in our church, is very adept at clairaudience. He hears things. All his ESP comes through hearing. But what I heard was basically a guy sitting right across from me yelling at me in his mind. And we were basically playing guess the card. He was holding a card and I was going to guess it because he didn't believe in ESP and he wanted proof of it. And I wasn't doing very well. I don't do well with ESP cards. But he was sitting there and telling me, it's a jack, stupid, a jack. And I heard his voice so plainly in my ear. And I said, you don't have to yell. It's a jack. And well, it convinced him. But it convinced me too. I had never, ever experienced clairaudience before. But it was probably because he had such a will to project onto me that type of energy that he had, that it came through as his voice. But yes, odors, taste, people taste things. I don't know how to, I've never had that one happen, but taste does come through for some people, and hearing comes through for others as well. How do you feel a ghost? It's a cold spot. Actually, it's a cold spot that moves. If you put your hands out to the side of you and you walk along in a room, you'll eventually come to a spot that's much colder than the air surrounding it. That is possibly a ghost. If it doesn't move, and it will move if it's a ghost, if it doesn't move and you can take your hand out and put it back and it's still there, it is probably what we call an emotional imprint, an etheric double, or an astral imprint. It's not a real ghost. It's something that was left behind. It stays there. It's got energy until it dissipates. But if that cold spot moves around and you can find it in different places, that's probably a ghost. Some people can't feel that coldness. Other people, those who are sensitive, especially with feeling ESP, they can feel that. And that was my first introduction to ghost hunting, when I didn't believe one bit of it. And I was going through the room just like I was told and came across this cold spot. And I said, that's not possible. I took my hand out of it and put it back in. It was gone. And my teacher, Bevy, said, it's over here. And I went and put my hand in it over there. And there was the cold spot again. That one defied all my Virgo logic. So I had to give that some thought.
So, Doc, do you think there are as many ghosts walking around as like people or something? Does every house have a ghost? Or
let
I
me
haven't seen new house, so I don't think anything's in there.
probably not. New houses probably don't have anything. Houses where there are deaths in, it is possible, but they're probably only going to be imprints. They're not real ghosts in a sense. Now, real ghosts in an older house where they died, if they died under traumatic conditions, it is possible. They haven't been able to move on. And when I was doing ghost hunting, we were taught how to get rid of them, basically to move them on. In a lot of the ghost hunting things or machines or TV shows, they have all these instruments to show we've got a ghost. And they can say, yep, it's a ghost. But what are they going to do about it? Well, they call in some channeling person or a medium and they try to figure out why it's there. But they never really get rid of them. We got rid of them. They never came back. Bevy always said that they got a refund if they came back. That give you ideas about ghostology?
What did you do, Neil?
What's that?
What did you do to get rid of them?
Okay, it usually takes a group. And it's group magic, basically. We had to form a circle. We had to actually encircle the cold spot. Now, some in our group were able to discern who the spirit was through intellectual ESP, clairvoyance in a sense. And they basically, if they could discern it, they would talk to it. Mentally or physically, they would talk to it. But we would form a circle. And that circle, we would hold hands and we formed a golden aura, continuous, going through every person in that circle. And this golden aura, we had to visualize, we had to breathe, we had to give it energy, and we had to close in closer and closer, while the one who had some contact basically told it to move on and how to move on. Basically, looking for the white light was a good one. Even if they didn't believe in a white light, by telling them there was a white light, that geared them toward it. By closing in that circle, they could not escape it. They couldn't move to another room, get to another part of the house, and they really had no choice at that point. We were, in a sense, magically in a group, giving it the energy to move on. And that's pretty much how we did it. We never gave a refund yet. Anything? Anybody got questions they want to bring up? RJ, we didn't hear from you at all tonight. You want to say something?
My phone has 1% charge. But yes, hi everybody. No, I've been listening and it's been very, very good. I did put in the chat about Hans Holzer. Are you familiar with him?
Yes, Hans Holzer. Yes, actually, he came to our group. Yeah, I've got one of his first books autographed.
Was it the big black book?
No, it was a little paperback.
Oh, okay. Because he talks about how you could go into a room and with sensitive recording apparatus and different things, how you can hear conversations from before. Then just he's pretty good. I like him.
Yeah.
I mean, he's passed on, but yeah, like
he passed on a while back there.
Yeah.
I liked him too.
Yeah.
St. Louis at one time, in Audrey's time, was kind of a hub of many paranormal groups. And we had a lot of famous people come in there to talk to us. It was also the hub of many astrology groups. A lot of famous people, including Doris Chase Stone, came to St. Louis to talk to us. But yeah, there were a couple others whose names I can't remember who came to St. Louis, and I got their autographs too. Douglas Baker, Dr. Douglas Baker, foremost authority on astral projection. He came in. We had Robert Monroe come in. God, there's a few more. They're in my book, in the bibliography, and I can't remember who they are anymore. But
RJ, who is the name that you and Neil had you talked about somebody? What
Hans
was,
Holzer,
well,
I put it in the chart, in the chat, Hans Holzer.
Ann?
Hans, Hans,
Oh, Hans Coulter. Okay.
Hans Holzer.
I wrote his name in the chat,
Yeah,
Andrea.
now I could hear you clearly. Thank you.
Okay.
Did have a lot of different astrologers who would come through because we used to have many conventions back in the 70s, and we had some really well-known astrologers who have books out and everything. Our astrology group just turned 50 years old this last November. We're probably one of the oldest astrology groups around. ESAR and NCGR and all those formed after a lot of astrology groups collapsed and just dissipated. But the people who still wanted astrology, they formed a more national group. And so those national groups, they put out a lot of things. And who's the one? Starts with a K. They have free programs on Zoom. I can't remember the name. What's the name? It starts with a K. The astrology, one of the astrology groups up in the north.
Kepler?
Pardon?
Kepler?
Kessler. Kepler.
Kepler.
Yes,
Kepler.
Kepler.
Yeah.
Up in the Northwest. And they do, if you get on their mailing list, they will, a lot of times on a Saturday, they have free Zoom things. And so, because their regular ones that are pay are a lot more expensive. So I always sign up for their free ones. And if you can't make it, they'll send it to you afterwards, even if you're not there in attendance. So just something to kind of be aware of if you're interested in astrology.
I was going to ask this week, and I feel like it somewhat relates, is what I can't seem to get is the difference and or the also the connection of the soul, the ego, and our consciousness.
Okay. The soul basically is your energy. Let's equate that to the soul is what is differentiated from your spiritual parents. Way back in our earliest times, we had spiritual parents or angels, and they basically made it and produced souls. And that's where we first come out with what they call the twin souls. And it is an energy form generated by them that is sent out into matter, into the physical realms. Well, actually, it's into the spiritual realms and the astral realms first, and they descend into matter. And then we get into the physical realms. And the soul basically is the repository of all of our experiences throughout all of our different lives. And that energy is basically immortal, but only if you make it back to the spiritual parents. And that's where Zane says you move on. It's always a progressive upward movement. And you move back to the astral after physical death. And you go through 7 different levels there, learning as much as you can. And basically at the astral level, you're learning to build a spiritual body. And that spiritual body is akin to the same angelic bodies that formed you in the beginning. But this time you are becoming the parent at that point. And you're learning to become the parent. So you're learning everything you can as a soul to generate a spiritual body. The spiritual body is basically with you. When you first came from the astral into the spiritual, the sparks of your spiritual body were formed, and they continue to form. The more spiritual yearnings and learnings you produce for yourself, the higher your spiritual body is built, and the stronger it is built. So by the time you get to the astral plane, you've got a somewhat well-developed spiritual body that you can continue to nourish and replenish as you gain information. That's why Zane basically has the universal symbol or the universal saying that a soul is completely moral when doing the utmost for universal welfare. That alone will build your spiritual body. If you are doing that in every endeavor in life, you are building a spiritual body, a permanent body. Now, the consciousness is basically what is produced when you come into the physical. The consciousness is a physical body. It is a physical mind. But within that physical mind, there are several other layers. There's the subconscious and the unconscious and the collective unconscious. If you're familiar at all with Jung's personality theories, he goes deep into that. And there are different layers of the consciousness that are all within you at one time. You develop those consciousness layers through all the experiences that you come into play with life. Your collective unconscious you can usually access through dream states. In fact, that is probably your best dream state right there, your collective unconscious. The unconscious is what is below the subconscious, and that is basic movements of the body. It's nervous movements, it's muscle movements. It is the unconscious part of the body that controls all those things, but does not have to have you consciously directing them. Then there's the subconscious, which is just below the conscious, and it sometimes becomes conscious. Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes dreams will let you access the subconscious. Sometimes meditation, sometimes psychic endeavors allow you to access the subconscious. The subconscious basically lives with the soul on the astral plane. That's where a lot of your information from the astral plane comes through the subconscious, through that soul subconscious. And if you're using intellectual ESP, it comes through the mind as something you have clairvoyantly seen on the astral plane or clairvoyantly heard or felt. From that point on, your consciousness leaves you at physical death. Your soul and the spiritual, or basically your soul and your astral body continue on to involve your spiritual consciousness so that you develop into the angelic parents that you wanted to be, from which you came from. And at that point on the spiritual plane, that's when your actual soulmate usually joins you. Zane says that, yes, it's possible a soulmate might come through in this lifetime or in even past lifetimes, but you're rarely going to have a hookup with them. You might meet them, they might be in passing, and many times, because the soulmate comes from the same tribe of basic spiritual beings, you might come across them many, many times in many lives, but the hookup isn't always there. The hookup isn't always there on the astral either. You have to build a spiritual body before both souls can actually unite together and become spiritual as one. Did I explain that any way, shape, or form useful?
Yes. And then the ego is
The ego is that's your superconscious. I forgot about that one. That is the superconscious. That is the all-knowing part of your conscious mind. It is a spark of the soul, but it develops in the physical. The ego basically will follow you to the astral, and it becomes part of the astral. In fact, the ego is probably the astral body that you are in as you develop in the astral realms.
so ultimately that's the one we're building.
That's the one we're building now.
Right.
Yes.
Okay, I see.
And due to that, that's why human reincarnation is not a progressive thing. If you're going backwards, if you got to go through human lives to experience spiritualness, you failed. So unless you're going forward, it's not going to help you a whole lot going back into another animal or another plant or another human. Why would you want to come back as a human? when you can experience far better on the astral.
Hey, Doc, it looks like we're getting close to 10 o'clock Eastern.
Oh, yes, we're way over. Okay, next time I won't talk so much.
It's good stuff.
Thank you.
Oh,
All right,
please.
we're going to have to call it a night. We'll see everybody in 2 weeks.
Okay. Thank you again, everybody.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Love you.
Love
Love
you
you
guys.
too.
Bye.